And I wanted to give some basic information because we're hoping to expose what's going on here to people who don't even know about what you're doing.
Worked with KPMG in Midtown. After that, actually was working for Cantor Fitzgerald on the 101st floor of the World Trade Center and in 2001. And then I decided that I will go to law school. So I entered GW Law School in Washington, D.C. actually also in 2001. So I moved from one place of September 11th to another as I was going to the school, the Plainfield Pentagon. So in 2005, I graduated both GW Law and Georgetown MBA program with distinctions. In 2005, began working with the Boston Consulting Group in CIS, which is Kiev, Moscow, and other European countries. Managed a few M&As, famous M&As, banking M&As. Worked in Ukraine and in Russia, and in 2013, after the events, moved back to New York, resumed as a director with KPMG M&A Group, and in 2016, as a part of the aid package to Ukraine, so recruiters contacted me for the role of the CEO of Ukrposhta, and they selected me, so I began my work on July 1st, 2016. And I believe by now I'm probably the oldest, longest running CEO of the largest state-owned companies in Ukraine. So next July, if I stay in this position, it will be 8 years.
What led you to accept the Postmaster job here?
I just live my life that you better try and fail than never try and regret.
Bravo.
As I mentioned, I have like 3 degrees from US University, and I said, you know what? If I fail or won't be able to make it, I can always come back and do something more normal.
Before you signed up for this job, did you know what you were getting yourself into?
No, it's actually one of the most popular questions I was asked. If I would have known the real story, what I was getting into, would I sign up? I didn't. I mean, their books were cooked. The situation was obviously also presented not in a way, but once you start, you move ahead. You don't look back.
How did February 22 affect what you were doing?
I mean, I don't want to lie that we were ready. No, we were not. Obviously, there were some preparations. Also, the fact that we've been working, the war started in 2014. So we've been working in the Donetsk and Luhansk region near the front lines. So from that perspective, we were prepared. But the war of this scale obviously caught us by surprise. I stopped work of Ukrposhta for 1 day on February 24th because I could not realize what I need to do to protect people's lives. So I took that 1 day, we restructured operations, and we never stopped ever since. So it was actually 1 day that we hadn't worked.
You did things here in the Postal Service that's never been done anywhere else before.
I hope never will. I joke that, I can probably write a book how we manage a company during the war, but then hopefully no one needs it. But it is true. What we also realized that Postal Service is the last company standing, oftentimes, especially near the front lines. So we were the last company to leave and the first to come back once the occupation happens. Ukraine is a large country, right? There are 28,000 cities and villages, and for example, banking institutions are only present in 4% of them. So, but people need food, people need money, people need support, and most importantly, they also need mental support because I was trying to be with my team first days after the occupation. Because if you get in the minds of people, think about this, they were under Russian occupation, so under Russian propaganda. Then the war activities happen when they don't have access to TV or to mobile connection to anything, so they're in the vacuum. And then Ukrainian forces come, but they're still not comfortable talking to the soldiers, so we are the first people that they see and bring them the news, because there's lots of misinformation that Russia disseminated, that they all will be killed because they were under occupation. So we understood our key role that we should come with Ukrainian pensions, with food, with basic support, And even small things like when I went to the front lines, there were UN packages for people in distress, but they never had sweets. And people under stress need chocolate. So we brought sweets as well. So, it's wider. We help companies to evacuate. We help to pay people as they evacuate. For example, we have this program with Ukrainian Railways, where we give people money once they evacuate, so they have some cash to start in the new locations.
So backing up into the bigger picture, how did the digitization of the world affect your thinking?
Well, in many ways. First of all, we are striving for 100% digitalization, which, by the way, we'll complete this year. So in 2 weeks, we'll install the last robotic sorting line for parcels, and hopefully in 3 or 4 months, we'll also finish with letters and newspapers. There are no choice. First of all, there are 2 things. A, there are not enough people to work in Ukraine right now, so you have to automate everything and anything that's possible. B, you have to have robotic lines because if Russia hits one of the sorting centers, I have to quickly route the sorting operations, and you can only do it if it's digital and fully manageable. But you also learn things like, for example, Starlinks. They saved us a lot. I mean, there are different views of, obviously, Elon Musk. You can probably see it on my wall, but you also need to adjust because when you, for example, switch on anti-drone air defense system, Starlinks don't work. So now we're doing the internet cables, we're doing Bluetooth to Bluetooth devices to make sure we are not dependent. So what we basically do, we're building digital company which can function without electricity or without mobile connection.
Right.
So again, we have 1,500 generators, and by the way, we have a separate chatbot for generators because you have to change oil every 50 hours of their work, so you have to have a huge operation doing it. Starlinks and everything else. So we are probably going to be the most sustainable company in a few months to be able to withstand it.
So thinking into the future, this digitization that you've created here, what does that achieve in the future for you beyond even the war?
First of all, we have to be a modern company. There are only 2 postal services in Europe that don't get state subsidies. All other European posts get state subsidies. Ukrposhta, even during the war, does not. It's a self-sustaining operations, and I believe it should be this way because every money the state budget have, it should go to fighting this war. So digitalization, increase efficiency, increase customer service. We are as normal business company as we should be. We care about how we service our customers. Even during the war, by the way, customers still want next day delivery. Even soldiers want next day delivery. Why? Because they only know where they are today. So tomorrow they can be in a different place. And I was just visiting front lines recently, and we deliver box, and I saw it's international delivery. So I asked the soldier, what did you guys order? And it was a 3D printer to print details for the drones, to make sure they don't have to wait for the details for the drone launch and the order. So it's a high-tech war, and we have to be as high-tech as possible to support our country.
So just touching back now, let's sort of open a few questions about the stamps themselves. Then let me just make a statement here and say, unbeknownst to you perhaps, I and the rest of the world were voting for the winner of that first stamp, even knowing we couldn't vote. Were you surprised by the winning design?
Not really, though I'll be honest, I went against a bunch of rules even announcing that stamp, because there are a bunch of people saying, oh, you would put Ukraine in the wrong light because it's cursed words, etc., etc. It's like, we have to change the rules of the game. I don't care what the rest of the people will think. I believe it's the right thing to do.
So did you have a different favorite than that one for that contest?
There were a few designs, but as the history, there's no democracy in how I make decisions. In the war, sometimes democracy is a wrong friend. You have to, but what I also learned that when people vote in mass, especially for the stamps, there are two things. A, it's going to be a successful stamp because they vote something that they will buy. And B, it reflects people mood. I think the most interesting vote for me was the second or the third. When everyone thought that after success of the first stamp, sort of a predictive ability, everyone wants us to issue stamp as dying Putin, so, to make sure. And that was the mode. Everyone thought, that's the mode. But then we put it for the vote. The mood of the country had changed. They want something positive. And they voted for the Good Evening from Ukraine stamp, which, by the way, is the most sold stamp so far. It's over around 8 million stamps sold. So you have to listen to what people say.
When did you realize this stamp went viral around the world, and how did you feel about that?
It was pretty cool. Obviously, I realized it probably the day Moscow sang. It was a good feeling, and there are about 5,000-6,000 people lining up ever since for the new stamps issues in Maidan, and there's also how to estimate, because Russia can bomb it. So do you give people moral support and sell the stamps in Maidan, risking that the bomb can fall, or you take the safety? And we decided moral support is more important, and it turns out we're right.
Did you feel that provocation made you a direct target?
Yeah, I don't think, first of all, you need to think about this, that your life should go on as usual. Russia would target probably any CEOs of top 15 companies in Ukraine just to wreak havoc, as far as I know, during the first wave. If you listen to Putin's speech on February 21st, before the war, he mentioned Ukrposhta that has been run by foreigners. I don't think it would go any further than that, but yes, the stamp did change a bit. Obviously, my family started getting threats, etc. But it is what it is.
Well, each of these war stamps has a unique story and for its purpose and design. Which are the ones that stand out for you?
I like them all because I was making decisions for every single one of them, including the ones where we did not issue. There are some stamps that were drawn, but the situation had changed, and I believe the stamp cannot be just the stamp; it should be a message. So if the message is not on time, let me give an example: refugee stamp. Because refugees, the immigration from Ukraine is a big thing. Now, do you issue a stamp? Yes, it's an important thing, right? But with which message? The message has to resonate, both for people inside and outside of Ukraine. And there's no common message for now. Unfortunately, it's a big topic. So, is it the time to issue the stamp? No, because the stamp will cause the discussions which would not unite people. They would be against it. Same thing with issuing a stamp with a particular hero. That I made a decision, no, we're not going to issue stamp as individual heroes. All our soldiers are heroes, and we'll get to individuals after our victory. So every one of them, there are funny stories. For example, the most now sold stamp, Good Evening from Ukraine, right? So it depicts the real situation where Ukrainians, farmers, took the tractor and got the tanks from Russia. Now, I'm signing at the stamp, the design had won the claim, I'm signing, and at 2 a.m., I usually work late until 2, 3 a.m. At night, I get the call, you have to stop production. I was like, why must I start production? Well, the tractor on that stamp is a Belarusian-made tractor.
So you caught it just in
and I was like, yeah, but in reality, the 80% of tractors in Ukraine were Belarusian-made, right? So I was like, okay. We have to redraw it. Then, okay, which tractor do you put on? And I cannot tell the full story. I'll tell it after the war, because there are two designs. Let's put it this: one was the foreign, but then the company, out of the caution not to put their workers in danger, at the last minute refused to have the tractor on the stamp. And then at the end we picked the Ukrainian tractor made in Kharkiv to be on the stamp. So there's a story behind almost every stamp that we issue.
Well, that reminds me to ask you about the Banksy stamp. How did that one happen? Because that was an artist that wasn't Ukrainian, and all of a sudden it became a rage of a wonderful stamp.
By accident. I won't lie that we're really thinking through everything. As a matter of fact, it was the second anniversary of the beginning of the full-scale war. And we thought, what do we want to do for it? And we come up with a design, basically the most famous monument in Ukraine, the Batьківщина Mater, this thing. We only wanted to change the sword to this sign to the finger, but the architect or the grandson of the architect would not give us. Initially, he agreed, and then he would not give us the intellectual property right. The civilized company, we cannot break the rules even during the war. So 3 weeks before the anniversary, we had to come up with a different idea. And then we saw this Banksy drawing, and we thought, you know what? I think it symbolizes a perfect symbol of our fight.
Yeah, it was a biblical story, David and Goliath.
Yeah, biblical story. So we reached out to Banksy through whatever the channels we had.
And found him then, I see.
Yeah, I won't come into that. But let's put it this way, we did get the rights.
Good.
Rights with conditions. So that stamp is does have a charity component. So the condition is all the charity, obviously the stamps are regulated, but the additional value, all of the proceeds went to building bomb shelters in school.
Bravo.
To make sure that kids can study. We built about 8 to 9 really modern bomb shelters in the near front areas. So, how do you know the stamp was successful when the bank selected? Well, he posted on his social media. So, we kept our end of the bargain, and I believe it's also one of the historic stamps.
It's been brilliant how one stamp after the other even becomes more interesting, and you've managed to hold that together so well. I have a personal question. I was in, if I'm pronouncing it correct, Izumi, and I was at the World War II memorial there, and there appeared to be a small Banksy there. And did I get that right or wrong? Do you know about this?
No, as far as I know, there might be copies or reproductions, but the Banksy did not draw it there. At least as far as I know, maybe I don't know something, but I think we've been experts on that.
Before leaving Kharkiv 2 nights ago, I had a conversation with my hosts and mentioned my upcoming meeting with you. My host demurred, and I pressed it with them. I didn't know why, and they mentioned that they thought Nova Post was doing a better job for them. I immediately explained that was not comparing apples with apples. That Ukrposhta was a government agency working for the people with a mission on many fronts, while Nova Post was a for-profit business with a different agenda. Would you care to add any other distinctions to that?
Yes, and we are striving to do the impossible. We'll do the both. We'll do next day delivery, and we'll work where no one works. So, for example, in Kharkiv, when everyone left, including Nova Post in many of the areas, we continued our work, whether it's profitable or not. But at the end of the day, it's like with the stamps. It's what people think about which matters. So the reason for our investment, for our digitalization, for our services, we have to do all of what we've done before, and we'll continue doing, working in the front lines, working where no one works. And at the same time, providing good services for people. And I think we've done a good job. We beat Nova Post in international. We've got, for example, the country with 0 airports working. We got the 4th place in the world for the fastest and best express international delivery EMS award. So you can imagine, so right now, the time from Ukraine to US, it's 8 to 10 days, door to door. To Australia, 10 to 14 days. So
I know because I order from.
So, and we even get the rising stock from eBay because we deliver so fast our stamps around the world.
Amazing.
So, we just have to, at the end of the day, as I said, it matters what people think, and Ukrposhta is doing a great job in customer service and times of delivery in Ukraine. We'll just need to catch up.
I think as the world changes to digital exploration of new ways, the post offices around the world would do well to collaborate in a global think tank for these things. Even as difficult as that it would be benefit everyone. What do you think about that?
I think this war had shown the role post can play. So, for example, there are no pharmacies in many of these villages, so no one knows how many people would have died because they didn't get access to medicine. So, Ukrposhta just opened we get a pharma license. We finished building a pharma warehouse, and starting from, I believe, next month, you can order accessible medicine to every single village in Ukraine, no matter where you are. And we also plan to open a bank in the next, hopefully, 3-4 months. Again, in Ukraine, there are small villages where there are no banking institutions. 35% of Ukrainians never had a bank account. Why? And you can imagine, during the war, if there is no power or electricity, you cannot use ATMs. But we built the infrastructure which we can do the banking services. So we're just adding a bank and the pharma to make sure that people do get what they need, even in the worst conditions. I was always telling the story that I visited Kharkiv during one of my trips and there was a really huge air attack. And 5 minutes after visiting the branch, and this girl comes up, and she has a box, and she recognized me, took a selfie for her Instagram, and was like, "So what you shipping?" So that I'm shipping wedding glasses to Etsy, to the US. I'm supporting 5 families with my business. Thank you for flying and keeping my business alive. So if you think the impact postal service has during the war, and as you mentioned before, not all private companies will probably go that far, because business is business, profit is profit, to help people in need, and you never know when that need may arise. As with COVID, when someone was shipping the tests or the vaccines or something else.
What I thought was personally brilliant, and you just elaborated on that, was how you were able to generate income for average Ukrainians by having them come to the post office, buy stamps, put them on eBay, and resell them. And even Ukrposhta gets a revenue from the shipment. So I just thought that was...
We're actually the first and only post that has its own store on Amazon and eBay.
Wow.
Which, by the way, opened during the war, I think in 2 months. It was a challenge. You have to do all these checks and balances, but... nothing is impossible. You just have to figure out a way of pushing forward.
On behalf of all the stamp collectors in the world and people around the world who support Ukraine, I wanted to make sure I thanked you properly. And we brought something for you that you can keep as a memento of our conversation. So this actually comes from the movie. This is an original piece. Okay, so you can probably see the movie and see this one in it. Okay, and it's an original, documented, absolute miniature replica of one of the lifeboats on the Titanic, along with the flag and name on the Titanic there. So I thought maybe this might be a nice.
Well, that's definitely going to be part of our collection, and what we plan to do actually in Maidan here, we plan to open a museum. Obviously not this winter, but it's our goal, because we want to preserve these memories for generations. I'm not going to be the CEO forever. Actually, as I mentioned, my contract is until Victory Day plus 90 days. Hopefully I'll get a chance to issue Victory stamp, but if that won't happen in the near future.
So what you're saying is you're really working yourself out of a job.
Yes, but I think democracy shows that the top people has to be changed as Congress.
Absolutely.
In politics, you have to change, and even the greatest directors of movies, sometimes the fourth or the second or the third saga doesn't really work that well as the first. So you have to give way to other people.
Quite frankly, that's often the problem with sequels, as they
The
call
sequels,
them.
yes.
Because it's not about the director or the movie anymore, it's about someone
Keeping interest. That's why I said that, I think I have the best job in the world, because the satisfaction of helping millions of people, you cannot find in many of the companies that you manage, and when they go to front lines, when they go and meet our clients, our employees. I think it's priceless. It's something that they will cherish, but there's always should be an ending to it. So, but this will definitely be part of our museum. Thank you very much. By the way, I do have something for you as well.
Oh,
so I don't know if you have. So this is a unique stamp that we dedicated to Ukrainian Olympic team with the preprint of the number of medals that they won. So there are only 100 of this. There's only 100 with the preprint. There's only 100 of this.
special printing.
Special printing. This is there are 800. This is the stamp that President Zelensky gave to all the world leaders at the this summit. So that we issued. I'm sure you know this stamp, but this one was cancelled in Severodonetsk, in Luhansk, and these are our two latest stamps. I don't know if you've seen. This is dedicated to our armed forces.
I haven't seen this one yet.
Yeah, to our armed forces. This is the famous artist Nikita Titov. Everything's going to be Ukraine.
Okay.
And our latest stamp that we just issued about Patron, and so this is also a humanitarian stamp. So 5 hryvnias from each stamp goes to supporting animal shelters during the winter time.
Fantastic. The only new stamp that I saw just around the block over here was that you had a big exhibit outside outdoors of this. I think it's a military stamp with under the water.
Oh yeah, that's so it's kind of a moral issue. So first of all, it's my position that we do not issue individually dedicated stamp, meaning no matter who that is, whether it's President, General Zaluzhny, Syrsky, Da Vinci. So I took a position, despite lots of criticism, that for the families during the war, each of their fallen soldier is the hero. So I cannot take on myself moral responsibility to dedicate an individual stamp to someone and say this is the war hero. So we will do it after the war ends, but for now we only issue. And same story with the army. So obviously lots of army divisions, departments want to issue a stamp. But I mean, there are so many of them that, if I issue to some of them and not to issue to other, it's also not fair. So we have this called Vlastna Marka, where you can order your own stamp. And this is the compromise that we found. And one of the leading divisions, Kraken, that I think everyone knows from our military special ops, will issue them a stamp this Thursday.
But you have raised the bar on the commitment to the people who work in Ukrposhta, and you keep them motivated. How did you do that?
There's very simple. There was a very simple sort of recipe to it. Sometimes you have to do unpopular decisions. So, for example, I've cancelled remote working in Ukrposhta on July 1st, 2022. I said, look, we have people on the front lines. So, as much as I understand the reason for remote work, I don't think you have a moral right to command people who are on the front lines if you're sitting outside of the region or outside of Ukraine. And I think it was really, it was tough but correct decision. And second, what you learned during the war, and we had a small survey, honestly, I thought my most biggest accomplishment is keeping people's jobs. There were thousands of jobs in postal service, paying them salaries, bonuses, etc. But as it turns out, for them, me being with them on the front line, because I went with them to Kharkiv, to Luhansk. I go every month to the most difficult areas to be with them. that's for them more importantly than the money. Money they can probably get everywhere, but it's important for them to feel that their work is appreciated, and I'm part of them, and that's why I made it a rule. Once something was deoccupied, I was first with the team, because sometimes yes, we took probably too many risks, because for example in Kharkiv we went over the bridge, there were 400 kilos of tortilla, which we discovered later. We went to one of the branches. After we get out, they found booby traps. So you have to manage the risk as well as you can get, but it was important for the team to see the time with them. And I believe in modern world, that's the only way to manage. You break the rules. The corporate governance rules, I joke, we have a loan from famous international organization. There is a condition that I need to have chief risk officer. And it's like, so what this person told me? Not to go to frontline because I'm a single executive entity of the company. The rules, you break the rules. If I would not break the rules, that stamp would never, by the way, it's not a registered stamp, because Russian representative is the head of UPU of the Philatelistic division. So that's the only stamp that can be registered, not the time to concern about it, but it's politics.
As you expressed, most post office around the world are running at a deficit. They're not meant to make a profit, but they are running at a deficit.
I think they should.
I agree with you there. And I'm sure you've heard all the stories about how the United States Post Office, the USPS, is having struggles and problems, or at least politically they're exposed that way. What advice would you have for the United States Post Office?
I actually first of all, I thank USPS for their support, because we would not be able to deliver as fast as we can in the US without them. So we have a close cooperation. It's 50% of our exports. Second, I'm in constant contact with my colleagues, CEOs of various posts, and they now use us as an example, because we changed the postal law during the war. And I want to thank our parliament and the president for changing. We deregulated the postal industry. I said, look, is there really a need to deliver a letter next day to a small village? What is it in that letter that would cause taxpayers to spend billions and billions of dollars and euros to support postal services? There is WhatsApp or messaging. If there is something urgent, they would know by now, right? 150 years ago, if someone, God forbid, dies of important news, you do have to deliver next day. But is it a need right now? No, there isn't. So I think by deregulating postal services and recognizing that the world had changed, it would allow postal services focuses what's important, on delivering parcels, on delivering goods, on being part of e-commerce, because when your chains around you, on whatever the conditions are, whether it's labor unions or something else.
But I think we can end this here, and I want to thank you, please.
Thank you for your visit.
Continue that fantastic thinking about what you're doing, because that's what's making the difference, I think. The rest is obvious, but it doesn't get done elsewhere until someone says, I'm not following the rules anymore, this has to happen next.
I think the world would be a better place if sometimes you break the rules.
That's right. Be well. Well, be well, that's all that's important, and Slava Ukraini.
Heroям слава. Thank you for your visit.